In December of 1992, blockbuster visionary Wayne Huizenga was granted the rights to an NHL franchise for South Florida. Already a major player in the world of sports, as owner of the Marlins and co-owner of the Dolphins, he paid $50 million for his new venture into the NHL. He announced his new hockey team would temporarily share a home with the Heat, until they figured out the logistics of building a new state-of-the-art arena. And the team didn't establish offices until June of 1993, another sign of the hurried and chaotic start to the franchise. The team's VP of Business Operations also admitted that he and his colleagues knew nothing about hockey. They were business people stepping into uncharted territory, navigating the complexities of a sport that was foreign to them. The franchise was Miami's first professional hockey team since 1939, when the Miami Clippers and Miami Beach Pirates played in the short-lived Tropical Hockey League. Bringing an NHL team to the Miami area was a bold move fraught with challenges, but also presented an exciting opportunity to disrupt South Florida's sports landscape. In April of 1993, under the Florida Sun in Fort Lauderdale, the team announced they'd be called the Panthers. The name is a reference to the Florida panther, an endangered species native to the Everglades. They also announced that Bill Torrey would serve as president, Bobby Clarke would be the team's first general manager, and Roger Neilson would serve as head coach. The team joined the NHL for the 1993-94 season, with their roster taking shape through an expansion draft, and the 1993 NHL entry draft. Both drafts proved pivotal, as 10 of the players the Panthers selected went on to help them reach the 1996 Stanley Cup Finals. The team's early stars emerged quickly, like former Ranger John Vanbiesbrouck, rookie sensation Rob Niedermeyer, and forward Scott Mellanby, who netted an impressive 30 goals in the team's inaugural season. Their first NHL action came in a 4-4 tie against the Blackhawks, and their first win was a memorable 2-0 shutout over the Tampa Bay Lightning at the Thunderdome. The Panthers defied the odds, and had one of the most successful first seasons in league history. They finished just one win shy of a .500 record, and missed the playoffs by 2 points. Much of their success was attributed to the trap defense implemented by their coach Roger Neilson. Though effective, this conservative style of play drew criticism, with some accusing the Panthers of playing boring hockey. The team initially thought their fans would mainly consist of Canadian snowbirds, but the Panthers quickly won over the local Floridians. This local support was bolstered by the middling performances of Miami's other teams, and resulted in the Panthers playing to 94% capacity and selling 8,500 season tickets in just 100 days. In August of 1994, the Panthers had a significant change in leadership. General manager Bobby Clarke departed to join the Flyers, prompting the Panthers to bring in Brian Murray as his successor. The team narrowly missed the playoffs again, finishing the lockout-shortened 94-95 season in 9th place. But tension within the organization was revealed when head coach Roger Neilson was fired, after a dispute about drafting Ed Jovanovski first overall over Radek Bonk. As a result, player development director Doug MacLean stepped up to take the reins as head coach. During the 1995-96 season, an unusual and memorable goal celebration emerged in South Florida. It all began on the night of the Panthers' home opener. A rat scurried across the Panthers' locker room, but met its demise when Scott Mellanby one-timed it against the wall. That same evening, Mellanby scored 2 goals, prompting Vanbiesbrouck to call his accomplishment a rat trick. Word of the incident spread quickly, and 2 nights later, a handful of fans tossed rubber rats on the ice to celebrate Panthers' goals. The tradition grew exponentially, with the number of rubber rats soaring from a few dozen to thousands during the playoffs. In the 1996 playoffs, the 4th-seeded Panthers embarked on an unforgettable run. Their first challenge was the Boston Bruins, who they defeated in 5 games. Bill Lindsay's series-clinching goal remains an iconic moment from the franchise's early years. The Panthers then stunned the hockey world by upsetting the top-seeded Philadelphia Flyers in 6 games. They followed that up with a dramatic 7-game victory over the 2nd-seeded Pittsburgh Penguins, with Tom Fitzgerald scoring the series-winning goal. This remarkable journey propelled the Panthers into the Stanley Cup Finals against the Colorado Avalanche. Even though the Avs swept them in 4 straight, the Panthers set a record for the most wins by an expansion team in their first playoff appearance, racking up 12 victories, a record later surpassed by the Golden Knights. For orchestrating the surprise run, Brian Murray was honored as NHL Executive of the Year. The Panthers began the next season with a promising 12-game unbeaten streak, only to falter in the latter half, after trading away beloved center Stu Barnes. The slump culminated in a first-round playoff exit, losing in 5 games to the Wayne Gretzky-led New York Rangers. The 1997-98 season saw the Panthers' fortunes fall off significantly. After a dismal 7-12-4 start, head coach Doug MacLean was dismissed, and general manager Brian Murray filled in for the rest of the season. But the change did little to reverse their fortunes. The team endured a franchise-worst 24-43-15 record, marred by a 15-game winless streak. The 97-98 season also marked the end of John Vanbiesbrouck's tenure with the Panthers. In the midst of their struggles, Beezer was lit up by the Blackhawks and never played another game for the Panthers, departing that summer for the Flyers. In 1998, the Panthers moved into their new home, now known as Amerant Bank Arena. The season brought a seismic shift when the Panthers acquired Pavel Bure, the Russian Rocket, in a blockbuster trade with the Vancouver Canucks. This addition injected new energy into the franchise, propelling them back into the playoffs in the 1999-2000 season. But their postseason run was short-lived, ending in a first-round sweep by the eventual Stanley Cup champion New Jersey Devils. The 2000-2001 season marked a decline in the Panthers' performance. And following this slump, Wayne Huizenga sold the team to an ownership group led by Alan Cohen. The first season under new ownership turned out to be the darkest in franchise history, with the Panthers finishing 22 games below 500. Despite being reunited with his brother Valerie, Pavel Bure struggled, and was eventually traded to the Rangers at the 2002 deadline, marking the end of another turbulent chapter for the Panthers. They won the 2002 draft lottery, and set their sights on defenseman Jay Bouwmeester, who was widely expected to go first overall. But expecting Bouwmeester to fall, new general manager Rick Dudley traded the Panthers' first overall pick to Columbus, who used it to select Rick Nash. In return, the Panthers acquired the Jackets' third overall pick, plus the right to swap first-round selections with Columbus at the 2003 draft, a right they ultimately didn't need to exercise, as the Panthers ended up with a higher pick. After the Thrashers selected Kerry Lettinen second overall, it was revealed that the Panthers had sent 2 picks to Atlanta to ensure Bouwmeester would still be available at 3. Upon reflection, head coach Mike Keenan said they should have just picked Bouwmeester first overall. In 2003, the Panthers hosted the NHL All-Star Weekend, an event marked by a historic first. The Western Conference secured a 6-5 victory, triumphing in the first shootout in All-Star history. Despite the West victory, the spotlight was on the Thrashers' Danny Healy, who scored 4 goals in his first All-Star game appearance. At the 2006 draft, the Panthers orchestrated another high-profile trade with Vancouver, this time sending Roberto Luongo, Lucas Krajicek, and a 6th-round draft pick to Vancouver in exchange for Todd Bertuzzi, Alex Auld, and Brian Allen. At the time, Luongo was in his prime, and widely regarded as one of the NHL's top goalies. On the other hand, Bertuzzi played just a handful of games for the Panthers before suffering an injury, and was later traded to the Red Wings at the deadline in exchange for Sean Mathias. Meanwhile, Alex Auld proved to be an inadequate replacement, and was ultimately let go after just 1 season. The next summer, the Panthers made another significant draft day trade involving a goalie, this time acquiring Thomas Vokoun from the Nashville Predators. In exchange, the Panthers gave up 3 draft picks, a first and second in 2008, and a conditional second-round pick. The trade panned out, with Vokoun playing in 248 games for the Panthers, during which he had a .923 save percentage. The following summer, the Panthers made yet another big splash, this time sending their captain Olli Jokinen to the Coyotes for a second-round pick, and D-men Keith Ballard and Nick Boynton. The Panthers followed up the trade with a strong 2008-2009 season, finishing tied with the Habs for 8th place in the East, but missing the playoffs because they lost the head-to-head matchup. It marked the 8th straight time the Panthers missed the playoffs, the longest active drought at the time. In November of 2009, the Panthers went through another ownership change, when Cliff Feiner and Stu Siegel took the reins. Unfortunately, nothing much changed on the ice, as the 2009-10 season saw the Panthers miss the playoffs for the 9th consecutive year, a dubious milestone that made them the first team in NHL history to endure such a prolonged drought in a single city. In the 2010 offseason, the Panthers brought in Dale Talon as general manager, entrusting him with the task of rebuilding the team. Talon got to work, using the 2010 draft to secure promising prospects like Eric Goodbranson, Nick Bjugstad, and Quinton Howden. He also made several acquisitions, including Steve Bernier, Michael Grabner, and Sergei Samsonov. But with the Panthers struggling, most of the new players were traded or released by the 2011 deadline and subsequent offseason, with the exception of the 2010 draft picks. By the end of the 2010-11 season, only Stephen Weiss and David Booth remained from the Panthers' pre-lockout roster, symbolizing a significant turnover in the team's makeup under Talon's stewardship. But despite all the turnover, the Panthers missed the playoffs for the 10th consecutive season, finishing last in the East with 72 points. That summer, the Panthers appointed Kevin Dineen as the 11th head coach in team history. It was a busy offseason, marked by a flurry of acquisitions that included Scotty Upshall, Thomas Fleischman, Ed Jovanovski, Brian Campbell, Jose Theodore, and Chris Versteeg. These moves were part of a broader strategy to reshape and revitalize the team both on and off the ice, as the team also introduced new uniforms. Despite losing over 300 man games to injury, the Panthers finished first in the Southeast Division in 2011-12, putting an end to their record-setting decade-long postseason drought. They met the Devils in the first round of the playoffs, where they took a 3-2 series lead, before losing back-to-back heartbreakers in overtime to lose the series in 7 games. The lockout-shortened 2012-13 season proved to be disastrous for the Panthers. Struggling to recapture the form that brought them success the previous season, the team was plagued by injuries again, and finished with the worst record in the league. The following season offered little improvement, as they finished 29th. In response to their continued struggles, the Panthers fired head coach Kevin Dineen and brought in Peter Horacek, but the team's fortunes didn't change. At the deadline, they made a popular move by reacquiring Luongo from Vancouver. Despite this, the Panthers finished the season on a low note and decided to part ways with Horacek, appointing former Blue Jackets head coach Gerard Gallant as his successor. The team received the first overall pick in the 2014 draft and used it to select Aaron Ekblad from the Barrie Colts, who helped them lay a strong foundation for the future. The 2014-15 season began on a sour note, with the Panthers setting a new franchise record for the lowest attendance at a home opener in team history, drawing only 11,419 fans. The situation worsened in the next game against the Senators, which saw a mere 7,311 fans in attendance, marking the lowest turnout in franchise history. Despite a respectable record of 38, 29, and 15, the Panthers missed the playoffs by 7 points. Fortunately, the following season was historic in a good way, highlighted by a franchise record 12-game winning streak. They set another milestone with 47 regular season victories, the most in team history, and won their division for just the second time. But their playoff run was cut short by the Islanders, who defeated the Panthers in 6 games. The 2016-17 season began with a shuffling of the front office. General manager Dale Talon was promoted to an executive role, and assistant GM Tom Rowe stepped into the role of general manager. After an 11-10-1 start, the Panthers made the controversial decision to fire Gerard Gallant. Tom Rowe assumed the role of interim head coach, in addition to his duties as general manager, and coached the team to a 13th place finish in the East. By season's end, Rowe was relieved of both positions and reassigned as a special advisor to Talon, who resumed his roles as team president and general manager. And that summer, the team appointed Bob Boughner as their new head coach. The 2017-18 season was a tale of two halves for the Panthers. They stumbled out of the gate with a record of 19-22-6, but finished strong with an impressive 25-8-2 run over their final 35 games. Despite the surge, they fell heartbreakingly short of a playoff berth, missing out by a single point. Their final record of 44-30-8 tied a league record for the most regular season points for a team that missed the playoffs. The Panthers missed the playoffs again in 2018-19 and fired Boughner in the offseason after missing the playoffs for the third straight year. The very next day, the team announced they'd hired Joel Quenneville as their 16th head coach, signaling a new direction for the franchise. The Panthers made the COVID play-in round in Quenneville's first season, but were bounced by the Islanders again. Later that summer, Dale Talon and the Panthers mutually agreed to part ways. During Talon's 9-year tenure, the team made the playoffs 3 times, in 2012, 2016, and 2020. In September, the Panthers announced Bill Zito as the successor to Talon. Under Zito's leadership, they navigated the shortened 2020-21 season with success. They amassed 79 points in 56 games, finishing second in the temporary Central Division, just a single point behind the Carolina Hurricanes. This strong performance set up a highly anticipated first-round playoff clash with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Despite a valiant effort, the Panthers were ousted in 6 games by the Lightning, who went on to win the Stanley Cup. It marked another disappointing first-round exit, but the season underscored the team's potential under Zito's management. The 2021-22 season began with high hopes, as head coach Joel Quenneville led the team to a perfect 7-0 start. But things took an unexpected turn when Quenneville abruptly resigned, due to the fallout from the 2010 Blackhawks scandal. The next day, the Panthers appointed former NHL player Andrew Brunette as their interim coach, and the team's success continued under his guidance. The Panthers won the President's Trophy for the first time in franchise history, finishing the regular season with 122 points. They advanced past the first round of the playoffs for the first time in 26 years by defeating the Washington Capitals in 6 games, clinching the series with a 4-3 overtime victory. But their playoff run ended in round 2 as they were swept in 4 games by the Lightning. The Panthers struggled offensively, managing just 3 goals across the entire series. This prompted Zito to reevaluate his roster, concluding that the team needed a major shakeup if they were going to compete for a Stanley Cup. Zito set his sights on restricted free agent Matthew Tkachuk, who'd recently informed the Flames he wasn't interested in signing with them long-term. In one of the biggest blockbusters in recent history, Zito got his guy in exchange for Jonathan Huberdeau, Mackenzie Weegar, Cole Schwindt, and a first-round pick. Zito also fired Andrew Brunette and replaced him with Paul Maurice, a move that left many pundits scratching their heads. With the busy offseason behind them, the Panthers looked to build on last year's regular season success, but an injury to captain Alex Barkov hampered their progress. By February, the Panthers found themselves outside the playoff picture, but the return of Barkov sparked a resurgence. They finished the season with a 42-32-8 record, amassing 92 points, which secured them the last wildcard spot by a single point over the Penguins. This set the stage for a daunting first-round matchup against the record-breaking 135-point Boston Bruins. The Panthers found themselves trailing the series 3-1 after a home loss in Game 4, but they mounted a remarkable comeback, winning Game 5 in overtime at TD Garden and winning Game 6 at home to tie the series. In a dramatic Game 7, the Panthers led 2-0 early in the second, but were trailing 3-2 with less than 2 minutes left in regulation. With goalie Sergei Bobrovsky pulled for an extra attacker, Brandon Montour scored with less than a minute remaining to force overtime. In OT, Carter Verhaeghe netted the game winner to secure a stunning series victory for the Panthers, setting up a second-round clash with the Leafs. The Panthers continued their momentum, defeating the Leafs in 5 games. Game 1 of the conference finals against the Hurricanes saw the Panthers play the longest game in franchise history. They emerged victorious when Matthew Tkachuk scored the game winner with 12.7 seconds left in the fourth overtime period. They went on to defeat the Hurricanes in 4 games, scoring with 4.3 seconds left in Game 4 to break the Canes' hearts and earn the first playoff series sweep in Panthers history. That sent them to the 2023 Stanley Cup Finals, where they faced the Vegas Golden Knights. Despite a spirited effort, they fell to the Knights in 5 games, leaving them hungry for another crack at the Cup. Which brings us to the present, where the Panthers have reached the finals for the second year in a row. After defeating the Lightning in 5 and the Bruins and Rangers in 6, the Panthers need to get past Connor McDavid and the Oilers to claim their first Stanley Cup in franchise history. Drop your thoughts on this year's finals in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to support the channel.